Pryde's Picks is spoiler heavy and full of crude language. I swear like a sailor, and Lockheed's no better. Consider yourself warned. Hey everyone, it's June 19th, and I'm here with this week's Pryde's Picks. So we're going to start off with some Marvel, do one issue of DC, an Image comic, and a couple from IDW. Let's jump right in with Superior Spider-Man issue 12. Now, everything I liked about issue 11, I hated about issue 12. In issue 11, you have the Spider Slayer and Superior Spider-Man going up against each other, and they're one-upping each other with their smarts. He's like, oh, well, I did this to counteract this. In this issue, it felt like they were just jerking themselves off on each other. He's like, oh, you think that I might not have backup? I have backup. Well, I knew you'd have backup, so I have this to counteract your backup. And that's the entire book. So they're trapped on this raft, and Superior Spider-Man is trying to kill the Spider Slayer, and Jonah Jameson has given him the go-ahead by any means necessary to make it happen. At least they don't have that one-page spread where he announces that he's the Superior Spider-Man. But other than that, the art's good. I'll give it that. But the story arc needs to come to an end and fast. I'm going to say pick it up, read it on the shelf, take it home and piss on it. You don't have to really buy it. You can read it on the shelf and then put it on the floor right there in your favorite comic book shop and piss on it, because that book deserves it. Speaking of books that deserve my piss, Age of Ultron Book 10. Now, I've been with you from the beginning saying it's Age of Ultron. Where the fuck is Ultron? Well, Bendis has spoken, and he's like, this book isn't about Ultron. This is Age of Ultron. Yeah, that was his answer. He's like, I'm not trying to be shitty, but that's the only answer I have. So in Age of Ultron, so far, the only thing that's important is Wolverine traveling through time and fucking shit up, and the consequences. I was excited for issue 10 for one reason. I thought this book was over. And then I'm getting towards the end and I'm seeing advertisements for Age of Ultron books. We have Age of Ultron Hunger, which is Galactus joining the picture. We have Age of Ultron, The Avengers AI, which is a new book, issue 1. And we have Age of Ultron Guardians of the Galaxy issue 5, where somebody that pops up in this book is going to pop up in issue 5. So apparently Age of Ultron is this big event. I thought it was a 10-issue event and be over with and out of my fucking hair. We can move on to other stuff. This event is going to continue because Marvel now wants to suck my soul. I don't want to spoil the ending, but you can all guess what happens. They're traveling through time, and they have to somehow fix the past. I wonder what's going to happen. I was not surprised. I was not amused. I felt like they talked down to me. And for Bendis, like, ranting that this was an unguessable ending, any fucking moron could have guessed this ending. Except for the fact that it doesn't end. Piss on it, burn it, piss on the ashes, make a little soup out of it, and send it to Bendis. Fuck that book. Fuck Age of Ultron. The Galactus book kind of looked cool. I think we just need more Galactus, that's all. Let's move on from all that rage into Avengers Prelude to Infinity, issue 14. I have not been keeping up with these books. I've been jumping in and out for a while, so I recognize parts and I don't recognize parts. Now, there's this one entity called the Gardener, and he's basically like a watcher of worlds. And he looks into worlds, and if he thinks they're broken beyond all belief, he terminates them. And if he thinks they can be saved, he does stuff to save them. Well, he sent these things to Earth, and basically he's going to try to make Earth a sentient being. And so he's sent these different bombs of sorts that are going to change things in some way. And there's these signals that have been going off and like activating these things. But we have no idea as of this issue, because it's just a prelude, if these things are there to terminate us, if they're there to change us, if they're there to make Earth a sentient being. I'm really confused by it all. I will keep an eye out for Infinity. I'd like to see what happens, but I honestly can't foresee how you can have an event like what is going on in Infinity going on at the same time as the Age of Ultron event. Unless in the end it just, all didn't happen in the first place. Who knows? I think Marvel has too much going on right now, and they need to slow the fuck down. So let's jump into DC Comics. The New Guardians, issue 21. So issue 20 was everybody jerking off Jeff Johns because he was leaving the comics, and there was all these letters of how much they love him and how wonderful he was to the series. And I didn't read it because I was bored out of my head because I haven't read all the Green Lantern books that have been as of the new DC 52, and I really didn't care. But I picked this one up, and it's kind of like a fresh start. So if you haven't been reading the books, now's a good time to jump in, because at issue 21, it's a fresh start that you and I can jump in together. Basically, the Guardians, the little blue guys from the last 20 issues, were realizing that they're better than everybody, and they were just fucking shit up, and in the end, they kind of went evil, and the Green Lanterns had to stop them. Now, Kyle Rayner has the ability to use different colors of the lanterns. He doesn't have to just use green like Hal Jordan. He can use red, he can use pink, he can use any of them. And for that reason, he's more of a superior sort of Green Lantern. And the Guardians are new Guardians. And they're like, we're not like those previous Guardians. Those guys were dicks. We don't believe in that. We want to be of the people. We'd like to live amongst the people. We'd like to see the world. And we're going to need somebody to come with us and show us around. So they want somebody to be their tour guide of the galaxy. And they want it to be Kyle Rayner. And Kyle Rayner says, fuck you. And Hal Jordan's like, please do this for me. And Rayner's thinking about it, and then something pops up on the edge of space. The new Guardians and Rayner go to investigate, and chaos ensues. I like that there's new Guardians, and I like that they're trying to do the opposite of what the old Guardians did. But what I like even more is the fact that Kyle and Hal don't trust them. They're not like, oh my god, you guys are awesome. You guys are going to do the exact opposite, and you're totally going to save the day. They're like, I don't trust you little smurf motherfuckers, and I'm going to keep an eye on you. What happens at the end makes me wonder if this is like the fail switch for the new 52, and if somehow we can, I don't know, reboot back to regular DC. So I do want to know where it goes, and I actually enjoyed this book. I didn't feel like I was lost. I didn't feel like I was talked down to. I got to kind of keep up and pick up where it was a good starting point, and I could see myself reading it as of right now. And I like Kyle Rayner. I like him better than the other ones. I like that he's artistic, and his constructs are a little more smart than the others because they're more creative. What? Let's leave the big boys and jump into Image Comics with issue 11 of Revival. Now, we've discussed Revival in the past. I've been following this book, and I don't know if some of you have, but at the moment I feel like you should be. Now, Revival is, think of it as a Dean Koontz, John Saul, Christopher Pike. I just made myself really old by naming all those names. But a Stephen King-esque kind of dark noir story set in like Smallville, Nowheresville. And there are these people dying and resurrecting. And there's all this dark shit happening, man. There's like people that are twisted and coming back different and like killing their families. There's people that are selling the body parts of the Revival people to the outside world because it's kind of like this newfangled thing. People think it'll help them live forever, make them younger, whatever. There's just weird shit going on. And one of the weirdest things about this book that I have had no answers to is this weird, haunted alien character that's been skulking about in the forest. And he makes this kind of noise, and you don't know what he's saying. And I keep trying to read it to see if I can catch real words, and he's trying to mimic human speech. And I feel like he is this close to communicating with me. And I have been on the edge of my seat about this one thing in the book. And they've given me zero answers. And issue 11 is the book where you actually kind of figure out what they might be for. And it's a kind, I don't know. When I saw it, I was like, what? I don't want to ruin it for you guys. But if you have been reading Revival, or you started it and then you just kind of got bored with it and you haven't jumped back in, now's the part where you find out what that weird haunted alien ghost thing was. And how it might be useful to the humans that are skulking around in the forest. Pick it up. Read it, and definitely issue 11 is the one you want to grab so you can see what the fuck is going on with that alien thing. I liked it. Now we're going to jump into IDW. IDW has 2 books out today, and the first one I want to discuss with you is The X-Files, Season 10, Issue 1. I'm not going to lie, I don't remember exactly what season X-Files left out on, but I remember watching X-Files from day one when I was a kid, and watching it every Friday night with my family and like sleeping together in the dark some nights because it was too creepy for us. And I am a huge fan of the X-Files. I love the movies. I saw them in theaters. I was just all about the Mulder and Scully before he was in Californication and she disappeared off the face of the fucking earth. This book is good and it's bad. It's good in the fact that when you're reading it, they're speaking just like your favorite characters. And the story's pace is a lot like your favorite episodes. The bad is the art. The art is terrible, and if you're going to take something that is such a cult favorite that people love and keep close to their hearts, find a decent fucking artist to portray this stuff. Because the writing is not where they're lacking here. It is definitely the art. The story was quick-paced, and it was intriguing, and it was confusing, and it was exactly like the first 20 minutes of an X-Files episode. So I say, buy it now and watch X-Files with me again. It kind of reminded me of my childhood. If you don't know what the X-Files is, don't listen to me. But this book, for any X-Files fan, was a lot of fun, and it reminded you of why you watched it on Friday nights with your family. Man, my mom thought everything was fucking evil, but the X-Files we were allowed to watch. Couldn't read about vampires, but we could watch aliens and human sacrifice with witches. X-Files is where it's at. Pick it up, read it. I loved it. Minus the art. We're going to wrap up this week with IDW's The Wild Blue Yonder. And this kind of reminded me of The Wake. Now, The Wake was a post-apocalyptic Waterworld-esque kind of book. And this is a post-apocalyptic book in the air. The planes are all old-school fighter planes, but everything's in the air, and people that could live an expensive, rich life live in the air, and the people that live on the ground are poor miners, and they're all sick, and they're all messed up. There's radiation down there, and the people in between are fighting to keep a tiny bit of airspace to themselves. And that's where this book is. It's right in between the rich and the super poor, and it has a dog in it. There's a dog that's a co-pilot. Now he doesn't fly a plane, and he doesn't shoot, and he doesn't talk. He's just a companion. And being a pet lover and thinking that my dog is my best friend, picking it up and seeing the dog on the cover, I definitely wanted to read this book just because I can understand what it's like to be a girl with a best friend that's a dog, feeling like you're all alone. She's all alone in the fucking sky, shooting down enemy planes with her best friend right there next to her. She picks up a handsome stranger along the way. So this book was enjoyable. It was different. It was quirky. A little hipstery, but I'll give it. I say buy it now. Pick it up and read it. If you're looking for something different, The Wild Blue Yonder might be what you're looking for. And last weekend, I actually got to talk to the guys that created Peter Panzerfaust. They were amazing, two Canadian guys. We got to catch up on the books. We got to ask them questions about themselves, about where the story was going. We got a little insight. And I don't want to spoil too much. And if you want to hear all about it, go to justacoupleofg's.com and you can listen to our last podcast where the entire podcast is just us talking to these guys. The ideas of these books and where these books are going is amazing, and I had a great time, and it was one of the greatest interviews we've had. I got to know them so well, and you can too. So that's all tonight, and good night, everybody.